It's really a chocolate?
Yeah, that's what I call it. It's a little chap. In Yiddish, in Yiddish, you always have to figure the diminutive. Thank you. So this Yiddish says to me, Rebbe, your bicycle is sticking out from the back of the car. So that was in Winnipeg. So I asked him, what's a bicycle? He said, a Rebbe's a bicycle, I can't call it a bicycle. In Yiddish, it's always a small one, you know? Yours is a bicycle. It has a strange feel to it, the way you put it. So, yai dai dai da 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 dai da dai dai dam, yai da 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 dai ya dai da 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 dam, hai da dai da da dai da dai dai dam. Ya da da da, hi da da, ya dam again. Ya da 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 da, ya da da dam. Ya da 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 da, ya da 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 dam. Hi da 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 dam. Ya da da da, hi da da, ya dam. Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Ata, Avinu Malkeinu, Ein lanu melech ela Ata, Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Ata, Avinu Malkeinu, Ein lanu melech ela Ata, Rayya dai, hai da dai, hai da dai dai dai, da 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 da, hai dai, hai da dai, hai da dai, dai 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 dam. That's the Rabbi Zalman Schachter-Shalomi. Ay v'chovoil ma'aminim, yababam, ababam, abababam, ay dai 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 dai, di da 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 dam, v'chovoil ma'aminim, shehu yabababam, abocheinu bodek, Kinzei nistaro, ayabah el ma'aminim, shehu golei amulkoes, ay I just wanted to give you a couple of those nigunim that come. Today I want to pay attention to Tkiyah Shofar.
Great.
And I think I want to start with the text I brought you because once we have it, we can go back to interpretations, meanings, and so on and so forth. But we got to start with the text first. Now notice that it's going to get confusing when you look at it because each page has on one side in the larger text is the Zohar, and in the narrower, smaller text is the Rayya Mehemna. And I'm going to go and do the Rayya Mehemna first because that seems to be the one that has made a greater impact, because the other one is more midrash. And if we have time, we go over that. But I think I do want to make sure that we have handled the Rayya Mehemna.
Great.
Now let's say a word about what's the Rayya Mehemna. So it turns out that the Zohar has many sub-pieces. When it was put together, it's my belief that the Zohar came down to Reb Moshe de Leon in automatic writing. Heschel has a whole thing about Ruach HaKodesh Bimei HaBeinayim, because there were many such situations, such as Reb Yaakov of Mervej, who used to write out the She'elah before he went to sleep, and in the morning he woke up, he found the Tshuva Min HaShamayim. So there's a whole sefer, She'elot u'Tshuvot Min HaShamayim. That sense of being able to be in touch with Lamala. And you have, of course, Yosef.
So you think Rashbi was kind of coming through?
Yeah. Not quite Rashbi. This is a whole other Inyan.
So different than Rashbi.
Rashbi is quoted.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the narrator of that cycle, of that Idra, that meeting that happened in the cave, the narrator of those comes down. But when he comes down, he doesn't come down necessarily in a Seder. It depends what's happening in heaven at that time. So you take a look in Rabbi Yosef Karo, when he has this great theophany on Shavuos night, when they're up the whole night in the Mishmar, and the Mishnah appears in his mouth, and he has a whole Maggid Mishnah, a whole Sefer, in which the Mishnah speaks. Interesting enough that those manifestations liked Aramaic better than Hebrew. Why? Because the Malachim don't understand Targum Loshen, was the way in which it was said. They don't understand Aramaic. That's the reason why we always need to have a minyan, so the Shechina should be present, because if you can't say Kaddish, it's in Aramaic, which the Malachim, who are the Machnise Rachamim, who bring in the Tfilis, they'll garble it if you say it in Aramaic. Now, I give it over to you. This is the way the tradition has it.
The angels don't know Aramaic.
Huh?
The angels don't know Aramaic.
No.
They said it.
So it turns out, on the other hand, so therefore we said that when you daven b'yechidus, you have to daven in Hebrew, but when you daven in a minyan, you can daven also in Aramaic, Yikum Purkan, etc. My take is the other way around, that today, when you're in a shul, you daven in Hebrew. When you're at home, you daven in the vernacular. So it should touch you better. But anyway, they would come down in this language. All right. It wasn't only the Zohar, because the Zohar would identify itself like as that entity. Any of you who have read anything about psychic communication find out that the origin of particular communications comes sometimes from that source and sometimes from that source. And so, contrary to the way in which Gershon Sholem, who doesn't, to him, these things, the psychic things aren't real, so he has to say, yes, they're different authors. And I agree they're different authors, but they're different authors coming through, and I'm not sure if Moshe de Leon was the only one. I think there were other people in that circle.
Yosef Gikatia also was.
Huh?
Yosef Gikatia was also part
Yeah, so when I went to Gerona, there's this restaurant of Isaac the Blind, and I sat there while the rest of the people went on a sightseeing trip, and I tried to start with automatic writing with the left hand. Nothing much happened to me, so but I tried, to give him a chance. So at any rate, one of the entities sometimes called a Saba. Another description is what happened at the Idra Rabbah in the Idra Zutta. And another one is that entity that comes through as Moshe Rabbeinu. And that's called Rayya Mehemna Roe Ne'eman. Okay? So.
Sorry, say that again?
Pardon?
Came through who?
Moshe Rabbeinu is the...
Moshe Rabbeinu, because he's a Roe Ne'eman.
Right.
And so the interesting thing is that he is always making sure to give you Tamei HaMitzvot, because that was a hot thing for them. Why? Because they weren't interested only, the Rambam was saying, and other people of High Goyen, they give you all kinds of things, how you talk a shofar ba'ir, v'ha'am lo yichradu, that Shofar is to impress this person and impress that person, but they don't talk about Tzorach Gavoa, what's supposed to happen in heaven as a result of the Shofar. So the people who are doing the Tameh HaMitzvot, not from Seichel Enushi, but want to give Tameh HaMitzvot how they are affecting what's in heaven, the Yehudim that are being made and everything else, they come with a different attitude about what's going on. So this is what we're going to learn right now, and you look in. B'chodesh hashvi, be'echad lachodesh. So he starts saying, Pekuda da, this mitzvah. He gives you now the tam for the mitzvah, okay? Why? Litkoa shofar b'rosh Hashanah, yom dedina le'alma, k'modo kimno, like we have established. V'ho k'mu adachsiv, and how did we establish that? Dachsiv tiku b'chodesh shofar b'kesa liyom chagenu. Kesa is a real problem. And everybody is trying to say something, and the pshat that is sort of generally acceptable is that that's the day when the moon is bekesa, the moon is hidden. Because usually Pesach and Sukkot, the moon is b'melua, and here it is. So that's what kesa is. But you can imagine the people who had to say something about kisei hakavod, although it's spelled with an aleph, nevertheless are saying something. Or if you want to say something is covered at that time and has to be uncovered. And he says it's the day when the moon is hidden. And then the world stands in din.
Who is saying that?
No.
That's still the pasuk.
In general, kacha nemar.
Okay, yeah.
The ha'iu yoma desira is kasabe. V'koim alma bedina. Why is that? Begin the haumekatrega, that sotten, chafi v'kasi v'anil pitrosh al malka. He is the one who shuts off and closes, locks the door to the king. And therefore, while the judges meet, atar the din sharia, the place where the din is resting, and he closes this off so he could come lemit badina al alma, to demand that judgment should be given to the world. Got it up to here?
Yes, and closing us off, eclipsing us from the.
He's comparing it, saying just as the moon is hidden, So and the moon representing often the Shekhinah shining, right, and so on and so forth, and that's not happening at this time because he is using this moment. Okay, let's not forget something else. Elul is Betula, but Tishri is Moznayim. So Moznei Tzedek and everything, everywhere you show, there is Pallas Athena, whoever it is, standing there with the scales, right? So lemit vadina al alma v'itei me'echis yaev le'rosha lahal mekatre gelachafo lemit vadina. How does he get the permission? Elevadai biyoda dehai mekatre geshavekut shebricha lemit vadina al kol alma. It couldn't be other than that God has granted him that permission to demand justice for the world. V'shavele, and so he demands, therefore, Yom Yediyah, a particular day, lemit b'kamekol dina de alma, to ask for all the things in the world. To kutche bricha ovad le, v'shavele kame lemeve dechilo de kutche bricha salko, in order that the fear of God should rise up, v'sharina al kula, and it should rest on everybody. V'rozodo, and this is the secret in the sentence, v'ha Elohim, meaning midas adin, asa sheyu milfanav. He made it so that we should fear before him. Now do me a favor and jump across the diagonal, because
Down here?
Yeah, no, on the same.
Okay.
On the same column, but you have to now go. Okay, my also.
Okay.
He made, therefore, in order that there should be Yirat Hashem in the world. He made that Satan. Ve'atkin le'kamei le'mevi saifa shinna al kol alma, that he should have a sharp sword on the whole world. Did you ever see any of the things that from time to time you hear in the news that there is a Islamist group that has Saifullah, the sword of Allah. Saif is that word, okay? So he has the Saifa Shinnal Kol Alma. Choldo, and all this is begin the Yechadlon Mikami Kutshavechu Kula, that people should have fear before God. V'da'i is Santiro the Tova Chayve B'nei Noshan. This is the accuser who comes with the debts of all people. V'tovadina v'tofis B'nei Nosha v'koteloin v'alkeloin. And then he comes, after he demands justice, he grabs them and he kills them and he hits them. Remember the Mama Chazal that says, Hu ha-Satan, and he is the Yetzer Hara, he is the Satan, and he is also the one who punishes, who accuses and punishes, all these jobs together. And so the alkaline, and so he punishes them kula b'madanofeg min dina, from whatever comes out from the judgment. Kegavna dahal memuna bezdin delitata is yav le'roshu la'atkara kamet beidina, just the same way as the one appointed by the court here below, to him is given the permission to be reminding the bet din, saying ploni avad kachu ploni avad al kach. This one has done such and such, and this one has transgressed lemitva alayadina, so that he has a right to ask judgment for them. By the way, the Aramaic here shouldn't be very difficult. You can see.
Yeah, it's very similar to Hebrew. It's very similar to Hebrew here.
Yeah, it's very easy. Utenoroshi is yoev lahau to mamuna bedin lan ala al bedina pitcha adi yixerin dina al kol ma de iutova. So the same way, also the bailiff has the right to lock the doors until they will have put down the gzar din concerning whatever the accuser has asked. V'leidroshu lebetin litchiole, and the bet din has no right to push him away. Begin ki ani Hashem oev mishpat, because God's demand for justice empowers him. Viu boy the alma yiskayim bedina, and he demands that the world should exist in judgment. Well, stop. Remember in Bereshit you have this thing about Bereshit bara Elokim et hashamayim v'et haaretz, and then biyom asot Hashem Elokim eretz hashamayim. Remember, so there's the kasha. Did he not know at the beginning that he would have to add midat harachamim? So Reb Elimelech gives that wonderful interpretation and says, Bereshit bara, as long as it was in the world of Bria, and the world of Bria is ruba tov, it is mostly good. So in a world of Bria, which is mostly good, we don't have to worry about will the world be able to exist, because there it can exist in din. If it is mostly good, what's the result going to be? It's all going to be good. If Cholila v'chas, it isn't good, b'yom asot, when it comes down to the world of Asiyah, then it's a different story. So therefore, shitaf bomidas harachamim, because before it wasn't necessary. That's an important part to understand, because the world of Asiyah is rubara. There's always do anything good and show me it shouldn't have shadow. You build a hospital and there's iatrogenic diseases. You build roads and there are accidents and so on.
So implied in this is the direction that we have to go in order to strengthen Tikkun Olam. We have to go with Rapamim.
That's right. So what happened? Because
Okay.
he's setting it out. So he's now he's telling us what the district attorney is doing and why the bailiff has a right to lock up and so on and so forth. It's not the end of the story because he's trying to tell us why we blow shofar. Okay. So. Ubehai Yom Yoyev leRosha lechaso pischa de Malka, and that day he has the right to close off the gate to the king. V'sira it hafya legav, and the moon is veiling itself inside. Atid gezar dina al kol bnei alma, until after the judgment has been made on all the people in the world. After all, God knows everything, so what do you need? You know, the whole scene of having a court and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
For us, this is always an issue because we start looking about, come on, this court of medieval king judges and so on. What do we need that for, right? So he's talking, but no, there has to be a certain kind of intermediate machinery.
It's part of the structure of how it operates.
Yeah, so that's why he's asking, Afal gav, the kula it gali kamikut shebricha, loy boy ela bedina. He only wants it to go according to the proper procedure. Kegavno choda ela vetata asking kursaya the dina, because just as above, so below, the throne of judgment is set up behayom on that day. Vesantira ata vetava din al kol of the bnei alma, kol chad v'chad kefum orchoi.
Where are we going now?
והשטן בא ותובע את הדין על כל מעשה בני העולם, כל אחד ואחד לפי דרכו. Okay, you follow that? When I translate it, you can see it there. וכפו מה דעבד ולפי מה שעשה, וסעדי, and witnesses Atyan vesade al kol of the bnei alma, and the witnesses appear. And who are the witnesses? Inun Eine Hashem, the Inu Meshate B'chol Alma. Eine Hashem Meshotetos B'chol Ha'olam. So usually you have a sense of, I forgot, some science fiction movie I once saw about this kind of eye camera that's flying around and is noticing everything that is happening. So it's so interesting because here you had the Rambam only a few generations before that saying, don't anthropomorphize, don't take these things and make them so specific. And here they're coming back and they're saying, the eyes of God, they are divine entities, but not God, you know, that are dedicated to go and observe everything. So when you look on the dollar bill, Anuit Koeptis, and you have that eye of God looking on top. You've seen the Ojo de Dios, you know, that the Mexicans make, those beautiful things with thread around that red, blue, green, you know, they all this and starts absorbing you, it draws you in or it looks out at you. You've never seen them?
Yeah.
In some sukkot, you have seen the same kind of, they're making these paper cuts the same way. When I was at the Bobova once for Shana Rabbah with Art Green, and the Bobova was just talking about something about Achdus Echad, you know, how it all comes together from all the multiplicity. And Art is looking at one of those big, they made a big one in the sukkah, that sort of has this tunnel almost, you know, and he goes, wow, like that. And the Hasidim look around and say, "Busser Reb Shaval," you know, he's there with blue jeans and so on. And the Baba Rebbe, he was really very nice. He says, "Don't make chayzik of somebody who gets it. You should get it too." All right. So that sense of the eyes of God that are floating around.
So there's many, in other words. There's
Yeah.
many eyes. And they're the Edim.
That's right. But he said, "V'chama inu ein Hashem the late lon chushbana." There's no number to them. Okay? The ko'azle meshate b'chol alma. They walk, they go, and they float around the whole world. V'chamon kol ovdei b'nei alma, and they see everything that the people are doing. V'ayleina de lo mashgichin v'lo mistaklen b'ovdei, and woe unto those who don't pay attention to what they're doing. The holegabayu kaimen iren sada malka mashgichin v'chamon kol mada ilan avdin. For these eyes have seen and they're witnessing everything that they had noticed. V'kamra daho inun salke v'sade kame malka, and they arise and they stand up before the king with their witness. V'hai santire koim kame malka, and this accuser stands before the king. V'tavadina ploni avadina ploni avakach, v'ho hocha sade ad kutshbrich lo shoylen leslen roshel lesade. And until God asked them, they have no right to offer their witness. Everything is written on a file card, before the king. In the house of the king, in my father's house, there are many mansions, right? In the house of the king, there is this particular mansion, the Eichal. Is Malya Esha Chivre. And there is this place that's full of white flames, which turns around in a circle, v'light shevivin, and it gives off sparks, v'haylo posik la'almen, and that never stops. Legav hay hechele is hechele achra, mal ye'eshe uchma. And there is another one which is got black fire, the lo pasik la'almin, that never stops. Otrein suffering kaimin tadir kame malke b'shalta the dina, and two scribes stand there before the king at that time. Sadin kol sade kame malke inan sadin v'sofred natlin mahau palke deisha chivre v'kat v'alei behar eisha uchma. Kedein malka ichmutz dina ad zimna yedia. And all this happens so that the king should be able to delay giving the decree until a little later.
What happens?
The writing, putting it down, the procedures, taking time, right? Until it gets to ad zimna yedia, until it gets to a particular time.
When it says there are two sofrim, does that mean...
Pardon?
When it says there are two sofrim, that means one is writing in black fire and one is writing in white fire?
I don't have a notion about that, exactly who is writing with what, but
No, because it just follows.
my sense is that the white fire thing is the paper that they write on, and the black fire is the other one. But look, here he didn't explain it further.
Okay.
But he says, why is it to contain Malka Achmud's Dina ad Zimna Yedia? And he's making, when they say that you should not allow a mitzvah to go chametzik, which means to delay, to procrastinate, right?
It's like they're buying time.
Buying time, right.
Yeah.
Why is that? Dilma ben kach v'kach yahadrun b'tshuva. Maybe they'll do tshuva. If they do tshuva, pitkin nikorin, then they tear up those decrees. V'ila malki Yosef v'chol inan donei zechuta kaime kamei. Kuz kam ukores ploneovat kach uman yolef alei zechus. And then he is asking, such and such has been the accusation. Does anyone have anything good to say for that person? Is man the yolef alei zechus yois. if there is somebody who is going to say something good, then good. Remember the description of in Sanhedrin as they're going out to the killing field to execute somebody. So there is always a calling out. Is there anybody who has anything good to say? Maybe they can save his life. And if they have anything to say that has the slightest substance, they have to go all the way back to the Sanhedrin and hear him out and so on and so forth. And even if they deny his claim and say this is not a good claim, the whole day he sits with the big shots in the Sanhedrin to honor him for having, I mean, the way in which, I don't know whether it was like this in Shimon ben Shottach's time when he hung the witches, you know, but the way in which the ideal Sanhedrin operates in the Gemara, you know, you always give anyone who be'ein melitz yosha mul magid pesha, you know, they're always waiting. Is there someone who has something good to say? Okay. Isman de yoylef ales chus yois vi lav hoit masalas antira. Then he's turned over to Satan. V'chula yoda kutchabricha. And God knows it all. Amay starle lechol do. Ele begain the law ye pitre pumel evnei alma. That people shouldn't have a pitron peh. Ele lachzor de kul avid ba'orach kshoy, to see that there was proper due process. V'nicha kame man de ishtezev min dina. And so it'll be good for the one who thus gets saved from the punishment. Vi tema. And if you're going to say, Menolan hai it masala hakim and afilu lamanda lo yoda manda boile staklo yashkach amadi ir bez galya v'yeda v'hand ir besitra. How do we know such things? He says, look in front of you and you see what is manifest, and from the manifest you can then move into what is hidden. Though kulike gavna choda, because it's all in the same way as above, so below, the fractals and so on. Kol ma de pocket kutshe briche be'alme be'ara kule ihr ke gavna. Next sheet. De le'ela. So, how do we know how it is above? Because we observe what is below, and we know what is below has been made according to the order how it is above. Okay. Yom de Rosh Hashanah, Yom de Dina, Malki Yosef Kusaya de Dina. Rosh Hashanah is a Yom Adin, and the king is sitting at the throne. Santirdo Osef V'chofe Pischa de Malche. He comes and closes the doors. V'tov Adina, V'afal Gav de Kushabrich Rachim Lele Dina. And for although that God loves justice, nevertheless, the love that God has for his children is stronger than the love that he has for justice. So at the time when the Sultan stands up and puts out the words against him, so he gives the command to blow the shofar, begin in order to arouse the mercies from below to above. And then through the shofar there rises up a sound that is made of fire, of breath, and of wind and of water. The Savit Minayu Kol Choda. So you
Fire,
have
breath, wind, and water.
Breath has itself also the moisture, and it has the fire. It's hot, you know. So all these come into the thing, and of course, what happens to earth? The shofar is that. Okay. Isar Kol Achol Eila, and here is, in the dream assembly, I've got this thing about one shofar sounding, and it gets the sound along. So that's why we say, B'shofar Godol Yitoka, you know, we blow the shofar so that the shofar above should start sounding, okay?
That's beautiful. So
You see that?
Hashem is asking for the shofar to blow before the or after the Satan brings his testimony.
That's right.
So it's almost like that. I forget what Masechta that is. It's Rabbi Elisha goes into the Holy of Holies, and Hashem is saying, "Pray for me."
That's right.
You know, lifnai lifnim.
That's
Pray
right.
for me that I should, you know.
Get up
Have
from the
more
Kisei
chesed
Hadin to Kisei Harachman.
Yeah.
Wait, it's all woven in there. You see, this is so wonderful. Kad hau kola yisar me'elo latata kedein kol tanis de kotoin ha'imekatr kemisarvevit. At that time, when that sound comes, everything that he has said gets confused, vermished. All right, dum dum dum. And now you have another beautiful archetypal scene coming into you, okay? It happened to be on B'yom Rosh Hashanah, Nofig Yitzchak Bilchoidi. Yitzchak went alone. V'korei le'esav le'tameh le'tavshilin d'chol alma kol chatke from orche. So he's now saying, as Yitzchak was at the time when he sends out Esav to prepare for him the matamim, so is God asking for the Satan to be like Esav, to go and catch the Averas, okay? And the Hobahai Shata Vatichena Einav Miraos, his eyes are darkened from seeing the Nofik Mene Man the Achshach Hape Baryon, for there goes out from him someone who darkens the face of his children, Visparish Vishochep al Arse, the Dina. He lies down on the bed of judgment, Vekor le'esav v'amot tzudali tzeido, vaseli matam ve'avioli. And now the Shechina is coming in. Ve'rivka omro el Yaakov, switch over to the other side again, Benorachim the nafshim, to the son whom she loves with her soul. Benorachim it masale miyoyme the isbara alma, the son that's been given unto her from the day that the world was created, and that he has gotten the task to prepare these good tasting things. And Yaakov dresses himself in the prayers. Kol Kol Yaakov, and so the kol becomes his. V'hau Shofar the Kosalik, in that shofar that goes up, V'yitar Yaakov legabe iskariv behadei, and Yaakov arouses himself and he comes close. V'yagesh lo v'yochal v'ichlil do bedo, and everything gets at that point, in the best way, confused, like fused together. Kaven deskalul behadei v'yovle yayin. And what is yayin? Do yayin the menatro yayin do uchada de liba. Is the yayin ha-meshumar? You know, yayin ha-meshumar b'anavav. You remember that phrase? What will we eat when Mashiach will come? Levyosin and Shorabor. What are we gonna drink? We're gonna drink yayin ha-meshumar. So there's this ancient wine, and yayin has the gematria of sod, and you know, and all that stuff. Dehu chada de liba, rosa de alma de osid. It is a joy, and it promises the secret of the world to come, of Olam Haba. Kedein veyorech et reach begodo. So what did Yaakov dress himself in?
Prayers.
And the prayers.
That's beautiful.
In this case.
Furry
So the
prayers.
Rebbeinu takes a whiff. Solution de salko busin. All those prayers that are going up, and the request by Vorcheu, and he blessed them. Nach rugse, the anger gets settled. V'chadi liba, and is happy. His heart gets happy. V'chula ir rachme, and it's all rachmanis. Kevin the iu is called Yaakov, called in chayolin v'tukvin v'rugzin the havas minin is badru. All those troublemakers that were set up to send out the punishment, they're separated out. Come on, they can't be found there anymore. V'Yisrael mafkin Medina, and Israel goes out from the judgment b'chedu v'chon, with joy and with blessing. Bum, ba-dum, bum. ויהי. אך יצא יעקב מאת פני יצחק אביו ביום הדו בחדבו בירחון אלוהים ועשב אוכל בו בצלע טון טענה מעבדו דעלמא ויעש גם הוא מטעמים תודר לישנה למיתן טענס. He has now prepared a good Lashon Hara delight to the Rebbeinu Shalom. Askin Sada v'yavel aviv, and he brings the witness to his father v'yama yokumo v'yisar bedina. Get up, get into the judgment v'yochal, and let you eat. Kama uvdin bishin. All look what evil deeds I have here. All uvdin bishin the whole alma the koish tachka that I have found. Vayechrad Yitzchak harod gedol ad meod. Do lo yochel ispar shemiklolad to Yaakov. He cannot separate himself from the inclusiveness of Yaakov, which is in joy. Vayomer, mi eifo hu atzatzai bechamas lusin avusin. Who is the one who came and caught me and hunted me with all those prayers? Ve'achal mikol b'terem tavo, and I have consumed it all before you came. V'avocheu gam bochye. Oy, kishmoa Esav es dibra over Yitzhak tzok, and he gives a geschrei. The chomer, the hayt seder, lo hava klum. All the stuff that he has run for is nothing. Ad lavosa de omole hine meshmane oris ye meshavecha ilin takirin v'uchlis in the shar amma. So he gives also some kind of reward to the other nations. V'do kashele mikula. And that's very hard on him. Vayistam Esav is Yaakov. That's why he is continuously hating Yaakov, lemezal abasre, lekatrig, letodir, to go always after him and to accuse him. Yaakov ozal bin an yom devein Rosh Hashanah liyam Kippurim. And Yaakov goes during those 10 days, the days between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, arek lishtaso minei. He goes away to be redeemed from him. Tav b'tiyufta, he does tshuva. Shavi garmei b'tanisa, he put himself into fasting at the Osar Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippurim. Kedein yadi Yisrael the Esav bo, because Israel knows that Esav is on his way. V'ima arba meis ish kula mekatrig es mina lekatrig alahon, and he knows that there are 400 accusers there. Okay, what's that 400 number?
Mm-hmm.
So you have a sense that they talk about this, that the name Elohim has Ele and Mi. Mm-hmm. Mi bara Ele. You've seen this before, yeah? So Mi is 40. No, it's 50.
50. Mi
is 50. Where was that? So I don't remember where the 400 comes from. Okay. Miyad vayira Yaakov meod vayetzalo. Immediately Yaakov is afraid and he is troubled. And he increases his prayer. And he takes an eitzah. Let me give Esav a present. Let me bribe him to shut up. Okay. Vayikach min haba biyado mincha, izi 200, yashim 20, gemalim, kachu sitra delei. Gemalim hu nachash kemin gamal. Sorry. What are the camels? They're like a snake. B'shata de pati samuel le'odam, irkav al nachash kemin gamal. When Satan tempted Adam, he rode on a snake looking like a camel. Taninan, we also learned, if you see a camel in your dream, you should know that heaven has decreed death, but you have been redeemed from it. And all this goes to one point. Ahada Esav apotropsa the Yaakov, so Esav becomes now the steward of Yaakov. The Yaakov lobo dufshe v'ukze, but Yaakov says, "Don't give me your honey and don't give me your sting." Yavano Adini Liske Avdo, you go before me, Kaden Vayosha Bayemo Esav Ledarko. And Esav goes back to his way. Emosai B'Shaz Ne'ilah. When is Esav going on his way? When we daven Ne'ilah. Though his parish Mama Kadisha, then he leaves the people. V'Kutchabrich Shavik L'Chavein, and God forgives their sins. Shavik. Shvoklon in the Our Father, Jesus says, forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against it. Shvoklon chovaina. Shvok is the word. Azov, it means. When he says on the cross, Eli Eli lama shavaktani, some people said it's zavaktani. No, it's shavaktani. It's the translation of azaftani.
Oh, the Aramaic.
Yeah.
Shavak.
Kevin the Har Mekadrige Ozel Behau Dorana. So this accuser takes his present visparishmene and he goes off his way. Boy Kutche Bericha Lemechte Bivnoi. So God needs to celebrate with his children. Marc see Yaakov Nosa Sukkos, so and Yaakov travels to Sukkos. For even like bikes, so Al Ken Kol Hashem Amakom Sukkos. Came the Yasser the Sukkos, or he stays them in Mekatrige, then they are freed from the Satan, Vekutche Briche, Har-Di B'Menoi, Zakor Chukoyen B'Hai Alma B'Alma Dasi. Ashreihem in this world and in the world to come. Okay.
Amen.
Now,
We have to
it's wonderful.
do some.
Huh?
We have to do some transvaluing.
That's right. So because you can't leave it raw, right? So it's your turn. What do you see here? Well, let me focus you on the first part.
Yeah.
It's clear that this piece is saying there's more to it than the psychological impact that the shofar makes on us who blow it. Okay? I think I want to start with that. And that there is something that happens above. And the shofar is called Yovel 2. And Yovel is 50, and that goes up to Bina, and something is taking place there. So what do you get out of that? Why does God, it makes it clear that we are given this mitzvah because God needs us to do that.
Well, I love I might have a very, simple child mind, but I love the stories that you tell about the two karnaim, the two shofar, and that as one blows, the stories are always when one is in trouble, the sister's in trouble or the brother's in trouble and blows one
Right.
shofar, and then the other one knows how to come, and we're blowing from a place of we're really in trouble. We're in deep, deep trouble, and there's a brit, that's made between siblings, between lovers, between below and above, that Hashem wants us to blow when we're in trouble. And there's something that's very, very moving to me. I know this is very simplistic, but that there's a vibration of calling out from this deep, deep, primitive place that is going to vibrate something above to arouse the help, and that Hashem really wants to move from din to chesed. It's waiting for us, but we have to make the first call.
So the Rebbe said this thing that the shofar is a kol pashut, and that was around, and it hit me strong when, what's his name, who did the primal scream, remember?
Yeah.
That was
Janov,
a hot,
Janov.
Janov, yes. That was such a hot thing at one point, and people would flock to him to be able to do it because it is the most primitive. It's like trying to get underneath language to that outcry. Okay. So here I put this into Hashir Vesheva. Set the Baal Shem Tov, Tehiyah, a simple scream, Abba, Abba, have pity. Abba, Abba, save. In this simple scream, and this simple scream needs no words, no further modulation, only to scream. so as to unite the sound of creation and the thunder of revelation and the calling of redemption, the great Amen. Tekiah is the name of the grace of Abraham. He's kind, warm, and gentle. Shevarim is the name of Elohim and the terror of Isaac. His sighs and the binding on the altar. He's afraid, yet wants to take our place in the rigors of judgment. And Teruah is Yaakov, all broken into tribes. His weeping for Rachel, for Joseph, for Dinah, for Shimon. His blessings, which he had to risk so much, is also the compassion of Yud He Vav He, grace, rigors, mercy, grace. So if you say Tekiah, Shvarim, Teruah, Tekiah, it goes grace, rigors, mercy, grace. Grace, rigors, grace is Tekiah, Shvarim, Tekiah, and grace, mercy, boundless grace. The last. Tekiah, Teruah, and Tekiah Gedolah, right? All begins and ends with grace. Thus, in the deepest, least verbal level that the ear can hear, the heart can be at one, and the innards are stirred, and together they scream, Abba, Abba, take pity. Abba, Abba, save. So we scream as loud as we can and echo the shofar in a way that no one but God can hear. Abba, Abba, pity and save.
It's beautiful.
Can we get a copy of that?
So,
This is old. It's like we all have this, but it's great.
you know, sometimes I get so sad
So good.
about all the stuff that I produced that most
Yeah.
people don't.
People have it in the libraries, but it's
Yeah.
like we've read that, so you stop looking at it. It's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Does that go with a tune? No, that's
no,
not.
no. The other one, I'll give you a copy of that if you haven't got
I
one
don't have
yet.
that, no.
Okay. The other one is
So Avram is the tekiah is grace.
yeah.
But
You
that
see, I have
goes with
chesed
ale?
because yeah. Because da, you know, it's a call. By the way, have you ever worked with a tone generator?
Yes.
There's a tone generator that goes and plays, let's say, A, you know, the mid A, and it's 400 and something, whatever it is, 430 vibrations per second.
440.
440, okay. Vibrations per second. That's how we have decided is the sound. Now imagine that I have programmed like this. And then there is an interrupt that gets faster and faster and faster. So it goes boo, 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 boo. And then the interrupt gets so fast that it becomes a straight note again, okay? You can hear that, right? So that's basically what I want to say about the stuff on Shofar now. Let's see if there's anything else that comes to you.
I was just from what Tirzah was saying. I just and I can't get this out of my mind. I was teaching my B'nai Mitzvah class the other day, and one of the guys in the class said, "Does God have a dark side? Can we talk about God's dark side?" And I thought it was so great. It was such
Wonderful.
a great question. And we went into it a little bit, but I promised him that we'd go into it more. But it feels like, I mean, again, it's simplistic, but it feels like the shofar is kind of helping like God's light side overcome God's dark side in a certain way.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I like that notion. Like, I mean, it's so the whole, Satan business is so hard. I mean, it's so hard in Yov, and it's so hard in the kind of midrash on the Akedah. It's like, what is that? What it's. I really struggle with it. I think everyone struggles with it, but I kind of like. I don't know. I mean, it's so important to acknowledge the dark side, and if we can acknowledge the dark side in ourselves, then we have to acknowledge the dark side of God too. And it's just like.
Have you had a chance to read Bill Moyer's sermon that he gave?
On what?
Bill Moyers just gave recently a
Recently?
sermon. Yeah,
to
it's
see that.
been around. People have been sending it around. On if you haven't gotten it, I'll try and send
It's
it to
not
you.
since Katrina, or is it since the?
Yeah, he did this afterwards, and very powerful. And he's talking there about, first of all, how he read the Quran. And he says it's a cruel book. for all the things that people have been saying. He gives it a reading, but then he says, "What do you think about our Bible?" And then he goes to Yeshua and then to Amalek and to Shmuel and so on and so forth. And you really get to a place where you are ashamed, that this is our stuff. So now I go back and say, you're asking from a point of view that we have always said God is so good, so how could there be evil? But let's say if one were to go without knowing about God, or to say, what is this principle that allows for all that? We would get much closer to the Zoroastrian point of view. So when we come and try to reconcile Ahariman and Ahura Mazda and say, but they're one. So you go to yin yang and you go to light and dark and you go to all these kinds of things. And you come back because you can't not come back to the business that there is a dark side. And so when people are always, how would I say, we have made God so bourgeois, nice, that all the big theodicy questions start coming up to that.
Yeah.
Right. I just read a piece on the Seir Zim, the Azazel, and it was a piece of Ramban that David Wolfblank, alav shalom, worked, and he was talking about how on Yom Kippur all the stops are out, and you are offering in openness. You're making an offering to the dark side. This Azazel, you're casting him out and saying, please, we know you're there. We know even Hashem's dark side. Take this. And it's like even the
Goral echad la Hashem, you had to, and it's the Goral that decides. You can't say one is better than the other. But let me just say something about a basic primitive around that. All the medieval people who talk about Azazel as devilish, reading as if it were Ayin, Zayin, Aleph, Lamed. But if you look in the Chumash, it's Ayin, Zayin, Aleph, Zayin, Lamed.
Uh-huh.
From which Professor Dinur points out it's Eiz Azilu, a wild goat. And a notion that you find, right, where do you find the beginnings of sacrifice? Not with the hunter-gatherers. You find it in the moment of domestication. When Cain and Hevel are domesticating animals in the field, then they have to bring sacrifice. Which is to say, we have upset the regular way of nature, and now we want to appease God or the gods, that they shouldn't be angry that we have done it. So if you are way back, I'm saying there is something so primitive that is antecedent to the whole medieval way of thinking, even prior to biblical thinking. Take a look the issues that we have. We send away a bird when somebody has a tzarat, one bird you take and you kill it, and you sprinkle the blood, and then the other one you leave alive and you send it away. There seems to be that kind of a relationship that we have to give back something to nature.
Yeah.
And when I think of, have you been, there's a mountain here not too far from where we are, where you go beyond the glacier, and most of the time it's in cloud. I was going to take the Tibetans up to that, to the Himalayas of
what is it?
Long Peaks?
What?
Long Peaks?
No, bigger than that. I forgot what it. So I drove up there once with Eve, and you couldn't see ahead. I constantly had to watch the road because the cloud was right. And there,
Mount Evans.
Huh?
Mount Evans.
That's right.
Next to Denver,
And there were there were bighorn sheep there, and there were mountain goats there. So I can imagine that people first caught these, domesticated them, kept them in a corral, and so on. And then there was a question: how do you keep the breed good? every once in a while you have to take one of these and breed them into it, and you have to send some from the domesticator and let them go and breed in with the others, so that the breed should be strong. I once was in Costa Rica and was for Chabad, for the yeshiva, and was on my way home. And those days I was growing fish. That was my hobby, tropicals. So I went to a brook and fished out some guppies. Now, the male guppies are very small, but the fancy guppies have beautiful tails. The females don't have beautiful tails, but they have big bellies, for the life-bearing fish. I went and caught a couple of big males to interbreed them with the ones that I had, and I got some oxygen tablets to be able to take them with me to bring them home, and so on. So I wanted to make sure that they would stay with each other, and still keep fertile. Anyway, that's his.
Did it work?
Huh?
Did
Yes.
it work? Really?
Yes. Big guppy with big tail. Yeah. Not all of them, and only a few sports like that, Others were just the other ones had the plain guppies and short tails, So, I mean, if you look at the way in which they've been doing the goldfish with the fancy tails and so on, it's been years and years of Chinese breeding that's gotten these big eyes and so on. Anyway, coming back, I show you the siddur here. Do you see where he calls Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov, and David? On that page. On Tkiya, Shvarim, Truah, Tkiya.
Maybe I lost it. Let's see. I was looking at something else. Yeah, here it is.
Yeah. So that's an important part. Go.
I was thinking about what you said, Mark, that the question of the child is it's only not after the Tekiyah, the Chesed, we have the Shvarim, that brokenness. And so why there is that evil? There is that famous saying, who said the Baal Shem Tov, that Rabbi Nachman, that only through the broken heart you can get to the Kotzker.
End of Shalem Kelev Shavur.
That's a Baron Karlina.
Oh, really?
You said it.
Everyone gets
I've seen it for the concert.
I can show it to you in Revan, not.
End of our Shalem.
Kelev Shavur.
There's so many variations.
יש גם, הדרך היחידה לשם היא דרך לב שבור, גם כן
So
משהו.
it's not the Kotzker? I thought it was Kotzker.
Well, what can I
thought
tell
it's
you?
Nachman.
But you said it's...
It's Reban Karlina. I'll show it to you in
Really?
Beisang. Okay.
Okay.
And
I've
he's
seen it
earlier.
quoted, Vashem
Shem Omer, and he's a little earlier. But the wonderful thing about that, there's a pshat I wrote in this in Yishmor Da'at. Harofel Yishvor Elev, Chabish La'atzvotam. What's the good if I have to work so hard to become a Shivur and Lev? So why should I want the Rebbeinu Shalom to take it away from me? Okay. So the answer is, if you have a broken heart and you're in atzvut, that's in depression and sadness, then that's not so good. Harof elishvur elev, he gives you a gesunte broken heart. Chabish la'atzvotam, he takes care of the atzvut, he takes away the atzvut, so that you're left with merirut, and merirut gets you to change. Okay? So that's how they deal with it. More about Tkiya, Shvarim, Truah, Tkiya, anything you want to say?
Did you finish? Yeah, I thought you...
So the idea, it's obvious that you have to go through that in order to reach these higher places and understand the good side of God. Supposedly there are those two sides of God.
Yeah, so this way we bring it
experience.
back to the individual as a psychological, as something.
But more than that, it's that brokenness is that the theological effect here, that brokenness and the shvarim is what's calling the grace to come back for the great Tekiyah Gdola. Yeah, it's like a cycle.
Yeah, it's like the Shulchan Aruch says that the Shliach Tzibur on the Yamim Noraim has to be older than 30 because he has to know what it is to have a broken heart in order to be the bal to tefillah.
You find lots of young kids today,
Yeah.
younger kids that have a broken
Plenty of
heart. If I
right.
start thinking never
Absolutely.
about the statistics of
Oh, it's teenage suicide.
You don't need to be 30
So
nowadays.
there's another question that comes up from this reading, from the Rayya Mehemna, that, you know, if we've set up our courts and this whole process as a reverberation of what really goes on the cosmic levels. So what happens, let's say, I mean, this is also the question, is there what happens when things get so perverted, when justice is so perverted, when our leadership is so in a vacuum that, what is that reflecting? I mean, I have worked with a Jungian analyst for years and years who talks about war, the archetype of war. He's done a lot of study about this. Also being something that's a reflection of something lamala. And, that, you know, Kitetsel Milchama, you know, it's like it's in our parsha now, and I've been studying the Slonimer for this Shabbos, and about the war that you know, is that an archetypal thing that goes on not only lamata but also lamala, that there is it's also with what you're asking, that there is, if we're a reflection of Hashem, if we're the Chelek Elohai Mimal, then maybe there is truly some churning, God wrestling that goes on with Hashem.
That's what, in a sense, you got to give credit to the Zohar portion here, to the Rayya Mehemna, that he allows for this to happen in the Pamalya Shel Malam. You know, if you talk about Ein Sof, then in Ein Sof we don't exist.
Right.
But if you talk about God invested in the world, then it's a different story. I think Michael wants to say something.
There are 7 levels of heaven. And the lower level is the level of the archetypes. In the level of the archetypes, we and the archetypes are interdependent. We affect them and they affect us.
Mm-hmm.
In that, we have to see if they're in order. And we have to, Tikkun Olam is putting the archetypes within us in order so that it can put them in order, so it can put us in order. And it's a feedback loop that if we're not aware of it, it runs amok, where various archetypes become excessively strong and others become excessively weak. So we need to be able to perceive internally how to balance and create a harmony of the archetypes within.
There are some situations when you work with a healer, sometimes, where he goes and gives you and presses on a particular part of the body, presses very hard, and then he says, take a deep breath while he's in, and when you let the breath out, he lets go of that. And why is that? Because he wants to have the original shape, the basic shape, to reassert itself so that it shouldn't be in the distorted shape. So there is sometimes a situation where you have to reset things. And the computer is the same situation, you know. The software that's gotten spoiled, so the reset button sets it back to its pristine way.
So the shofar, see, that's how I see the shofar, is that there's this primal, it's almost like, you know, you've seen all the scientific studies of sound vibrations and what it does. It creates mandalas and it creates order. If you chant Om, there's the sand takes a certain order, the water crystals. But you're saying that from the Rayya Mehemna saying that it famishes things, and that to me the shofar is this blast that organizes the energy in the kahal, and it organizes the energy inside. It's like it's calling us back to our deep order.
If you look at unification, the word confuse is a funny word.
Uh-huh.
You know, to fuse together again, if you're talking about, there's such a hischalkus between good and evil, good and evil, good and evil. And the question is, who sets up the good and evil? You know, if I were to say, Imagine it as Rishon L'Cheshbon Avonot. We have just finished, completed Yamim L'Roim, and now we are beginning again, and it's all our possibility. Who is the one who begins to then impose, this is good, this is bad, this is good, this is bad, this is good, this is bad? You know, that's where Lao Tzu is so clear. He says, in the Tao there is no good and evil, you know? Where there's good and evil is not the Tao. What happens is that we have already schlepped the thing apart. So when you say Sukkot begins Rishon L'Cheshbon Avonot, if we could stay clear of the business of Avonot and simply stay in how would I say, in the natural order of things, it wouldn't be such a bad inyan, you know? But on the other hand, once society begins, the natural order has already been so disrupted.
I don't agree. That natural order is harmony and balance, and to abide by it takes internal knowledge of truth and reality. We stray when we cloud that. That's Adam's sin. So we have to work on the refinement of the knowing. So we can be one with the natural order, even as it evolves.
I'm not arguing that this is open here for us, you know? But when you start looking at the habits that have been already set up, that the karma that's running in the world is not so simple. Would be able, and dafke fakert, you could say that the only way in which it evens itself out is because of the natural order demanding. Take a look right now, we are saying
Right now.
Global heating and so on and so
Yeah.
forth, global warming and everything that's happening. It's this way. It is so, you know, if anybody could be totally open to see the collapse
Yeah.
that is impending on America,
Yes.
not enough money to pay the bills to going on, and not enough people wanting to sign up to serve in the government, in the army, and a draft will not be approved in the condition in which we are right now. So there's a collapse that's going to happen, and we don't have anyone standing up on the other side to be ready yet to take on the leadership. So it's solace. That's why, you know, we're going to have to do. We have to do some good davening this Rosh Hashanah. All
So
right.
can I ask a very practical,
Yeah.
well, I think it's very practical. So there's a young woman in my kihila who's going to be the Balat Tekiah. I've never heard her, but everyone says she's wonderful, wonderful. And I've spoken to her saying I want to meet and really study. So how, to someone who doesn't have a great level of learning, probably doesn't understand, like, you know, the Sefirot and so on, I mean, how in simple terms would you explain the importance of the Kavanah to be the Balat Tekiah?
So there's this wonderful story of Revolve Kitzes.
It's a great
nice.
story.
Right?
It's the best story.
I'll tell her that story for sure. Yeah,
That's a great
I love
story.
that story.
So, but if she can at that point say, God says to blow and I blow, you know, that's good
It's
enough.
also the great story of I have 3 daughters and I have to marry them and I'm wondering where the dowry is coming. You're the Baltkiya, you know, it's like very tachlis. It's very
It's good, okay.
Okay, Rabotai. Yeshikoyach.
Yeshikov from Zalman.
Rabbi Zalman, can you maybe give us a little shofar blast before we leave?
I can only let you hear some. I can't blow anymore.
Oh, you can't?
The reason why I can't blow is because I have dentures.
Oh.
Oh.
And
They vibrate.
it's blowing. You want to take out a shofar from the Oren Kodesh and give a good blow.
Marc, go.
Okay.
I have that duet of the shofar and the flute on the CD if you want to hear that.
There's one in here?
Yeah, open the Oren Kodesh
You got the
carefully.
Torah back.
Huh?
You got
Yeah.
the Sefer Torah back.
Yeah.
Ay, ay, ay. It's a terrible time we live in. How could this not be part of our Rosh Hashanah this year? I mean, screw politics. You know, it's
Yeah.
like everyone says, stay away from politics. Everything is, you know,
You can't
not
help
this
it.
year. A Jew
You
has
don't
to
have
take
to
this
say
on.
politics. You just have to describe where we are.
That's right.
Go
Oh,
ahead.
beautiful.
This one good?
Yeah, this is a very good shofar. Los Angeles, where I'll be for Rosh
Yeah,
Hashanah,
who's blowing?
they're gonna have 100 shofar blowers.
At Macomb?
Mea Kolot.
Wow.
There's a guy by the name of Chusit Chosid, yeah, who is a shofar
Fabulous.
man there. He's getting together 100
Wow.
shofarot. And I agreed to that only if he's going to blow the first one alone.
Yeah.
You know, so that we should be yotzet about that. But
Wow.
when we do the Tkiya Gedola, then one starts, and when the next one is ready
That's how we do
to,
it too.
you know, and so that's a long Tkiya Gedola that happens with.
Wow.
You do that on Rosh Hashanah or Yom Kippur?
On Rosh Hashanah, you can do it Yom Kippur at night too.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
beautiful. Wow.
But that's because some people in my community say they want lots and lots of shofarot. So you think to do that, have that just on the Tekiah Gedolah would be okay? Because I'm not
On
so
the
comfortable
Gedola
with
is fine. Or when you do later on, it depends. Are you gonna go do Mea Kolot? You know, are you gonna do Tit Kabel? It's always good for a finale to do that. You know, Kol Haneshama Hallelujah comes after the others.
It's beautiful.
Ayal is doing a great 150th Psalm.
Eyal?
Yeah, with Sheldon Sands and so on and so forth. And they're doing,
Oh, it's beautiful.
Shofar, and they're doing
Beautiful.
Nevel Bechinor, and they're doing Tziltzali Shama, and all that kind of
great.
stuff. Yeah. Okay, Rabbi.